This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 167-inch.
On this episode, it's part 2 of our interview with Eric Appel, the writer and director of Weird, the Al Yankovic Story.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Hey, Ethan, did we have a pretty stinking majestic weekend or what?
Oh, Dave, it was pretty stinking majestic for sure. I attended 3 Weird Al Yankovic concerts, and I got to hang out with a comedy music legend.
Yeah, and then I joined you for the last 2 of those concerts. It is always great to see Weird Al and the band put on incredible shows, but definitely one of the highlights this weekend was hanging out with comedy music royalty.
And we also had a ton of fun recording some brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus centimeter concert review episodes, along with a few very special guests. Those and the centimeters recorded in Minnesota will all be available soon to our loving Patreon family over at patreon.com/2000inch. We cannot wait for you to hear all about this insane weekend.
Yeah, we are very excited for everyone to hear those episodes, as the entire weekend, like you said, was magical. Seeing Weird Al perform in the heart of Amish country, not once but twice, getting to hang out with so many Weird Al superfans, and of course the fun prank that Weird Al and his band played on us and the rest of the audience.
And you'll hear all about Dave and I meeting Jerry Samuels and his amazing wife, Bobby. And so if you're not familiar with the name Jerry Samuels, he is better known by the pseudonym Napoleon the 14th, and he is the genius behind the demented comedy music classic They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha, along with many other demented tunes.
Well, Ethan, I know we don't want to share too much about our weekend because we go into great detail on those bonus episodes, but do you think it's okay if I tell our listeners who the comedy legend that I got to hang out with is?
Dave, spoiler alert, I already mentioned Napoleon the 14th.
Oh, I know. And trust me, I am quite aware how iconic Napoleon the 14th is and what a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity it was to go to dinner with him, but that actually wasn't the comedy music royalty that I was thinking about earlier, and I really don't want to leave our audience hanging.
Well, sure, Dave, go for it.
I got to hang out with one half of my favorite comedy music duo.
Wait, former podcast guest Bill Mooney, a.k.a. Art Barnes of Barnes & Barnes, was there too?
I'm pretty sure he wasn't, or at least not that I know of.
Oh, Artie Barnes was there?
No, silly. Ethan Allman, one half of the comedy music duo Ethan Christian and the Eligible Spatulars.
Oh, of course!
Well, speaking of Ethan Christian and the Eligible Spatulars, it's time for some Ethan Christian and the Eligible Spatulars related news. At 7 p.m. Burrito time on Saturday, August 20th, Ethan Christian and the Eligible Spatulars, along with Don Ferlazzo and Helen Marie, will play the Other One Brewing Company in Half Moon, New York.
And before the show, be sure to pick up the most delicious vegan food in town. This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito your burrito, or hop on over to Wizard Burger for mouth-watering loaded, dare I say, beefy vegan burgers. From Troy to Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquared.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
All right, let's check out what's happening in Weird Al-related news. Last Thursday, August 4th, Weird Al shared the news on his social media that Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, will be making its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival's opening night.
The 108-minute-long film debuts at midnight on September 8th as part of the festival's Midnight Madness lineup.
And of course, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story is the biopic starring Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al, as written and directed by this episode's guest, Eric Appel.
At this time, we don't yet know if this will be the only screening ahead of the November 4th release on the Roku Channel, or who may be in attendance at the world premiere.
The Toronto International Film Festival's official film schedule will be released on August 23rd, and for the best chance to see the film, they encourage that you purchase a ticket package over at tiff.net.
Also in Weird the Al Yankovic Story news, the first official movie merchandise is now available at HotTopic.com.
There are many different options, including various fabric color choices, all featuring the official movie poster logo.
Now, we've both received our orders, and the quality is that of print-on-demand clothing, so hopefully we'll see some more robust options pop up as we near the November 4th release date.
And a few hours before LEGO Star Wars Summer Vacation debuted on Disney Plus at 3 a.m. burrito time on Friday, August 5th, the Disney Music Vivo YouTube channel dropped a video for the song Scariff Beach Party.
Recorded for the special and previewed in the trailer, Scariff Beach Party is sung by Weird Al Yankovic himself, and the single was also released on all sorts of streaming services, including Spotify, Apple, and Amazon Music.
This appeared to catch Weird Al by surprise because when he shared the link to the video, he said, quote, so I guess I got a new single out? Hey, it's news to me too, end quote.
While the song sounds great, it doesn't quite have the humor or Weird Al DNA of his typical music.
According to the credits, while Weird Al sings the song, he did not write the music or lyrics. The lyrics were written by David Shane and the music by Michael Kramer, Roberto Prado, and Ali Feder.
The full LEGO Star Wars special is around 45 minutes long and features an overarching story that ties together 3 flashback vignettes. The one with Weird Al starts around the 18-minute mark.
The song does not play in its entirety during the special, and there is dialogue over parts of it, so if you just want to hear the song, check it out on YouTube or the streaming sites. And if you just want to see the parts with Weird Al and don't want the full context, watch from 21 minutes 45 seconds in to about 25 minutes 30 seconds.
It's important to remember that this is a special that combines LEGO and Star Wars, so the target audience and humor is for kids and families with kids.
Oh, and Ethan too.
Well, yes, but Dave, this wasn't something I would have watched without Weird Al's involvement, but I did stay up and I watched it right when it premiered. So Weird Al scenes are with Darth Vader and the Emperor, which is pretty cool, and it's definitely my favorite part. Now, Thomas Lennon and Paul F. Tompkins also voice characters later in the special, and they do an excellent job. So it's definitely worth checking out at least Al's parts if you're a fan of LEGO and Star Wars and Weird Al, but I'm not so sure our adult listeners who are half undressed and eating chips off their chest would necessarily enjoy it as much if they watched it with their kids or nieces and nephews.
Shortly after the song debuted on YouTube, longtime friend and podcast supporter Joe Jaffa alerted the official Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast news team. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Now, if you remember all the way back to last episode, we spoke to John Bermuda Schwartz about his brand new book, Lights, Camera, Accordion, Eye-Popping Photographs of Weird Al Yankovic, 1981 through 2006, which is coming on November 15th.
And if for some reason you have been waiting, the time is upon you to get your orders in for the limited edition box set, which comes with deluxe box plus exclusive cover art and blue metallic book edges.
And it comes with 12 frameable prints, 6 postcards, and a bookmark with images taken at the Bob music video shoot.
And if that's not enough, there are 2 pages of Al memorabilia reproductions from Bermuda's personal archives.
Plus, not only is there a numbered certificate of authenticity, the book is signed by John Bermuda Schwartz himself.
So grab your copy right now over at 1984publishing.com for the low price of just $99 while they last.
Still too much for you? All you need to do is skip your daily 25-cent Gumball Machine gumball for about 13 months and you'll be golden.
Wow, that is super easy. I don't even like gumballs.
You don't? Wow, you must be a millionaire by now.
I wish, but for some reason I still buy them.
Oh well, Dave. Well, also last week, our very own cartoon-loving geek from Canada, Chris Sear, got a nice shout-out from Weird Al on his Instagram account.
Weird Al shared images of the artwork that Chris gifted him that feature Weird Al, the band, and Emo Phillips as superheroes on comic book covers.
Chris drew Weird Al as Accordion Repo Man, Bermuda as The Spatula, Steve J as Waffle King, Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimmel West as Mr. Foyle.
And not to be missed, Chris also drew Ruben Valzier as Torso Boy and Emo Phillips as Professor Pentium.
Now, our descriptions just simply cannot do Chris's amazing artwork justice, so be sure to head over to Weird Al's Instagram account and check them out.
And in related news...
Oh, that noise means we have a call on the 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
I mean, do we have to take that call right now? I was just about to tell everyone about this amazing surprise we got in the mail the other day.
Well, Dave, according to the Canadian Podcast Commission Guidebook's chapter on voicemails, 27-62-27-27-27, if a noise is played to represent that a podcast official hotline has a voicemail, the voicemail must be played immediately.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we have no choice then. Play that voicemail, intern Frank.
Hey there, Dave and Ethan. It's your old pal Chris, the cartoon-loving geek from Canada here. Well, I'm really sad that you guys couldn't make it to the Toronto show at the Danforth Theatre, but you know what? It's all good. In fact, out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to tell you guys what you missed. Well, other than the set list, obviously, I guess you guys didn't really miss much. There was a bit of trouble outside the front of the theater, though, as apparently your intern Frank's Canadian cousin Francois was out there trying to sell We Love Intern Frank t-shirts. But don't worry, thankfully the Royal Canadian Kilted Yaxmen were there just in time to stop him, and I think he's looking at about, 27 years at best. But another cool thing happened to me. I actually got the chance to give some really great artwork to Al, his band, and even to Emo Phillips during the VIP. And he loved them. But I know what you guys are thinking. What? You went out of your way to create artwork for Al, the band, and Emo? And not us? Chris, I thought we were friends. Relax, you big crybabies. Of course I went out of my way to create some artwork for you guys. In fact, hopefully you should be getting it in the mail in no time. Unless, of course, your stupid intern Frank forgot to pick up the mail, or lost it, or threw it in the shredder again, in which case, kindly strangle him for me. Other than that, there's your update on what you missed on the show. So, until then, I shall catch you guys later. Ciao!
Chris, our cartoon-loving geek from Canada, thank you so much for the fantastic spatula message and letting us know all about the important stuff that happened at the Weird Al concert.
We are thrilled to report that we did receive the artwork you mailed us, and it arrived completely undamaged by our intern Frank's dirty, grubby little hands.
But just in case, we still did choke him a bit for you, Chris.
All right, now on to these absolutely pretty stinking majestic drawings.
Okay, get this. Chris drew me as the Tacky Titan, complete with the most tacky superhero costume that I have ever seen. And hey, I must say, I look really good in tights.
My favorite part is that you're wearing a mask, so no one needs to see your face.
Well, I'm just happy that Chris was able to correctly capture my huge muscles and my impressive physique.
And he covered your obnoxiously hairy arms.
What? What? My arms aren't hairy. Look at them.
Well, moving on to my drawing.
Seriously, look at them. Do you really think they're hairy?
Chris drew me as the Weasel Stomper. Bad guys can run, but they can't hide.
And look at that vicious Viking helmet.
And there's a barrel crushing a weasel's head, and I have this huge hose that shoots mayonnaise, and it's...
Family friendly, Ethan.
I'm sure the weasel is just fine, kids.
Well, we already posted these amazing drawings of us over on our Facebook group, group.2000inch.com, so be sure to check them out if you have not already.
Last episode, Eric Appel, director and writer of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, told us about how he first discovered Weird Al's music and how he got his start in the world of comedy and show business.
Let's pick up our interview with Eric Appel where we left off last episode, already in progress.
Well, there is one movie trailer we do want to ask you about, but before we get there, I wanted to ask about, you did American Contestant with Bob Odenkirk, and Dave and I are big Bob Odenkirk fans, so I'd love to just hear about that process.
Okay, so the first video that I did with Bob, I did a video called Craigslist Penis Photographer, where Bob, and it was written by Seth Morris, really funny writer that worked at Funny or Die, and it was like a little documentary piece where Bob played a photographer who would take, so back on Craigslist, people used to post there used to be a lot of like penis photos that showed up in like the casual encounters section on Craigslist. and Bob was a like photographer who you would hire to come take your penis photo. and the art of it was that he would make it look like you just took it with like a bad cell phone camera. It was such an insane concept, and I was a huge Mr. Show fan, and I was a Bob fan from SNL, from his cameo in Wayne's World 2, from Ben Stiller show, and even his stand up. Like I used to be obsessed. He had this stand up special that was on Comedy Central that I remember watching as a teenager, and I think this was him. I hope that I'm not attributing someone else's bit to Bob Odenkirk right now, but where he was like just reading Bazooka Joe comics on stage as his jokes, and they were bombing, and he was like, and every time he would read a new one, he'd have to put a new piece of gum in his mouth. So by the end, he had like 5 pieces of gum, and it was just like a really sweaty, like reading bad jokes and chewing lots of gum at the same time. I don't know. But anyway, so I was a big fan of Bob's. So I was so excited to direct this thing. And yeah, it was just like a day of like basically me just pointing at a camera at Bob as he did improv. and then just saying like, more of this, less of that, do this again, that's so much of what you do, just directing performance. Just you're just kind of watching it, and it's like your taste, you're like, oh, I think this would be funny if you kept doing this, or, here's a new direction to take it in. And yeah, so that video, it came out really well. Everyone was super happy with it. I think it might have won. It didn't. I think it got nominated for like a Webby Award, which is crazy.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, after I did that video, Bob started calling for me. The phones would ring at Funny or Die, and the receptionist would just come up and say, "Hey, Bob Odenkirk's on the phone for you." Like, what? Nice. Bob Odenkirk's on the phone for me. And he's like, "Hey, man, like I got an idea for a sketch. You think you could get a camera and come up to my house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Like we did this one where he was so you remember Susan Boyle? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember who that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
She sang that song. Yeah, she got pop. She was on America's Got Talent or something. And
yes.
Anyway, and it got like 8 million views or something. The Susan Boyle video. Yeah. And Bob was like, "I want to play the guy that watched that 7 like he's the guy that watched it 99% of the views." He watched it like 7,500,000 times. And he was like a guy. He like lived his character's name was Denny Chitterbottom, and he like lived under a park bench, and he would like. All he owned was a laptop, and he like stole internet from somewhere. Yeah, it was like so crazy. It was like a news report about Denny Chitterbottom, the man who watched the most views of Susan Boyle. So then after that, he had this idea for American Contestant, which was basically like American Idol, if instead of singing, the contestants just want to be a contestant on this show. So it was set up. It looked just like American Idol. Yeah, it would look just like the audition process in American Idol, and then people would come out and just say, so why do you want to go to Hollywood? I want to go just because like I feel like I deserve it, and I put in the work. They're like, yeah, very interesting. I don't know, I don't believe you though. And it was just like it was basically improvised. Just got a bunch of really funny comedians to to come in and play the contestants.
Right.
One of whom was Tiffany Haddish.
Really? Wow.
And this yes, and this was a full 10 years before Tiffany Haddish became famous. And when she blew up, when Girls Trip came out, I was like, whoa, that's that girl that was in American Contestant. Like, I worked with her. And in fact, I just directed 2 episodes of season 2 of The After Party for Apple TV Plus, where Tiffany Haddish plays this detective.
Wow, cool.
And it was my first time seeing her since then, and I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but yeah, I directed these Bob Odenkirk videos, and she went back and watched them, and talked about how much fun that was. But yeah, it was really really cool. But it was so amazing working with Bob. Like he is just one of the most brilliant comedic minds, and it's amazing to watch him work, and I just felt lucky to be there for it,
Oh, sure, yeah,
that's amazing.
I contributed the very little amount that I contributed, and watched Bob work really on that one.
I'd love to talk a little bit about the fictional film trailer for Weird the Al Yankovic Story. How did you get involved with that one?
Yeah, so I'd always wanted to make fake movie trailers that looked like such believable movies they would potentially fool people into thinking that they were real movies. And for 2 reasons. 1, just because it's kind of fun to do that. And 2, because I was like, maybe someone will let me make a movie if I could prove that I can make something that looks like a movie and that gets people excited to see it. Maybe they'll be like, oh, this guy knows exactly what audiences want to see. The first one I made was actually I had a human giant sketch that I wrote that sort of ended up on the floor that they couldn't figure out. There was a concept where it was like Willy Wonka if it was a horror movie, sort of like Saw, where Willy Wonka would trap people in, you get a golden ticket and then you end up in a torture dungeon, and that the teenagers are what make the candy. It's like a house of wax type, yeah. So I had this trailer idea, and I was like, I don't want to do it if I was like, maybe I'll do it at Funny or Die, but I don't want to do it unless I can make it look real. And the cameras that we had, we were shooting on these Panasonic HVX 200 cameras or whatever, and they just don't, they didn't look like film. And it was right around the time that the Red camera came out, which was a digital camera that replicated that film look, and movies were just starting to dabble in shooting digitally because it looked like film. There was a guy named Dustin Bowser who worked at Funny or Die, who was an editor. He had worked on a spec commercial shoot one weekend, and the director of photography was this young guy named Christian Sprenger, who owned a Red camera package with a few friends, and they would rent it out to people so they could have it for themselves to shoot projects with. Really a brilliant idea. And Dustin was telling me, he's like, you gotta see the footage that this Christian guy gets, man. It really looks like a real movie. So I'm like, oh, I have this Willy Wonka trailer idea. It was called Gobstopper. Look, I have this idea for this Gobstopper movie, and I went out to lunch with Christian, and we ended up putting this thing together, and we got Christopher Lloyd to play Willy Wonka.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, shot this thing over the course of 2 days, and I cut it together, and it like really looked like a horror movie trailer, like a Willy Wonka themed horror movie. And so I immediately started thinking, like, what's next? I want to do another one. Oh, sorry. I should also say that trailer got the attention of some folks at MTV, who then hired me to direct a pilot called Death Valley, which went to series and was like my first TV credit. Like, that's the thing that like got me.
Nice.
That's what got me into directing television. It was the Gobstopper trailer. So I was like, okay, what's my next trailer? What's the next trailer going to be? It was so fun making this, and everybody had a great time. Everybody was happy with how it came out. And the Notorious B.I.G. movie had just hit theaters, and there was a lot of talk in the press surrounding that movie about how they played kind of fast and loose with the facts. And, oftentimes a biopic will come out and it's about a person that's been dead for 20 years or just events that happened a long time ago where people have fuzzy memories of the chronology. For the Notorious B.I.G. movie, like, it was like maybe 10 years since he died. Like, these things just happened. They were so fresh in the minds of everyone. And most of the people in that story were like still alive and thriving in their careers, Diddy and the like. So I was like, well, it would be really funny to make a fake movie trailer where all of it's just like the whole story about the person is just completely where it's like, we're not just playing fast and loose with the facts. It's just like, this clearly did not happen. Like, we know the story. Like, people that know who this person is know the story of this person. I mean, or at least they should. Like, and let's just like totally go, out of character for someone. And I'm like, who, just trying to think of what artist to do it with. And I'm like, well, Weird Al would kind of be the perfect, because it's a parody of biopic trailers, and Weird Al's the guy that does parodies, and he also notoriously has this like life without controversy, and like he's like a very intelligent person who's like seems very in control of his career, and just it's just it would just be hilarious to do this thing with Weird Al and make it look like he had this really sensational, depraved life. And, a hard, a tough upbringing, and, scandalous romance, and, all of those fun types of biopic tropes. So I'm like, okay, this is settled. I'm going to do this. But I want Weird Al. Oh, I had never met Al before, but I had heard that Al is just like a huge comedy nerd himself. That he, people were like, I'm sure Al has seen stuff you've done. Like, I actually, it's funny, I ran into this on something else. I worked with the Paul Thomas Anderson script supervisor before on this pilot that I did. And I'm like, she's like, Paul's probably going to love this. And I'm like, Paul Thomas Anderson's going to watch this thing I'm doing? And she's like, oh yeah, he watches, he'll certainly watch this show. It's right. I'm sure he'll love it. And I'm like, what? Just the concept of like your heroes watching the things that you do.
Right.
But anyway, I'd heard that Al, just generally a big comedy fan and a big friend of comedy. And I'm like, all right, well, I had worked with Patton Oswalt on a couple of videos, and I knew that Patton was close friends with Al. So I'm like, I want to get Al's blessing before I do this, because it's not just like I'm doing it about a dead celebrity. I'm doing it about Weird Al, and he's
right.
he's 1 mile away from where I am right now writing this thing. Right. I have to try to get to him. So I reached out to Patton and I said, hey, I sent him an email. I have this idea. I did this Gobstopper trailer. I do these very realistic looking fake movie trailers, and I want to do one that's like a Weird Al biopic. But I just want to make sure that Al is cool with it. If or if this is something that he would have wanted to do himself, you know, like I just don't want to like take something from him that could have potentially been his just because he does parodies. And so I'm like, you know, just see if Al's cool with me doing this. So Patton, he's like, great, yeah, sure, I'll reach out to him right now. Patton writes me back maybe an hour later, and he says, hey, Al loves this idea, and he's wondering if is it okay if I give him your email address? He wants to reach out to you. I was like, he does? So like, yeah, sure. So I'm like, yeah, give him my email address. I mean, within minutes, and it's funny, like knowing Al as well as I know him now, of course, Al's so like on it with everything. He does not waste time. Al Yankovic does not waste time. He immediately writes me and he says, hey, I talked to Patton. I love this idea. I would love to work on it with you if you're okay with that.
Wow.
And I wrote back and I said, am I okay with it? Like, yeah, of course you can work on it. We can work on it together. And he's like, you know, are you around to meet up for coffee? And I was like, yeah, I'm around today. And he was like, great, let's meet at 5:00 at this coffee place. Wow. And I was like, cool, I'll see you there. And I'm like, what just happened? I remember calling my mom on the way over there. I was like, Mom, you'll never believe where I'm going right now. I'm like, I'm on my way. Oh, and I should also say that, like, I got my little brother, who's 15 years younger than me. He's my half brother. I got him really into Weird Al, and he like became absolutely obsessed, you know. And this was like, I was a huge Weird Al fan before the internet. You know, he was a post-internet Weird Al fan. So you know, you know, you could dive a lot deeper into fandom post internet.
Right.
So he was like Al obsessed, and yeah, so my mom was just like, I can't believe this. Wait till I tell your brother. Anyway, I go, I show up at this coffee shop, and Al is, he's at a table in the back. He was not hard to recognize. No. Anyway, he's sitting, he has his laptop open, and, you know, we say hello, get past the, you know, the formalities and icebreakers, and then immediately he has like every biopic trailer pulled up on YouTube already on his computer. Like, wow. You know, the Doors trailer, like, you know, all of these things. And we just start like watching trailers together and talking about like, oh, this moment, like, you know, finding the moments that intersect with all of these trailers. Like, oh, every movie's got this. Every movie's got this, you know. It's like all the biopics have the song where, you know, the artist comes up with the song for the first time, and it's like, and in the movie, it's like, it's so easy, you know. It's right. Like it comes, it's just like God touches them, and the song just like pours out. And you know, there's and just like the structure of the biopic trailer, it's like, you know, it starts out, it's always a troubled upbringing, and you know, there's always some like family turmoil. There has to be that thing that lights the fuse, you know, of determination for act 2 of the trailer, which is like the big rise to fame, and then you get to play all the tropes of like, you know, this person is just wildly successful, and then of course you have like the next part of the trailer is like the scandals hit, you know, and like the alcoholism or whatever it is. And then of course it always ends with like inspiration, you know, it's uplifting at the very end. Yeah. And so Al and I just like, we came up with like a beat sheet for like, here are the things that, you know, we didn't have like a script per se. It was more, you know, we had all the lines of dialogue are lines that were scripted, but it was more like beats, you know. It was written like a montage. Yeah, it was so fun to come up with it together. I still can't believe that it happened the way it happened. It's such a fun story.
It's insane. So it literally it was an idea. You reached out to Patton, and then later that day you're working on it with Al.
Yeah. Later that day, we were like off to the races. I went home after that, and then I went back into Funny or Die the next day, and I'm like, yeah, man, me and Weird Al like came up. I think maybe we like bounced it back and forth a couple of times over email, just kind of refining the beats, and then it came time to try to figure out how to cast it. Which took a really, really long time. It felt like, we're going to make this video in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
And that was not the case. As Aaron Paul ended up being our phenomenal Weird Al in the trailer.
Right.
We took some really, really big swings before we went to Aaron Paul.
Well, can you talk about them?
Sure. Yeah. Our original idea was either Sean Penn or Tom Cruise.
Oh, jeez, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking swings that are just like ridiculous, unattainable goals. Like Sean Penn, it was just like an immediate, like I feel like we reached out to someone who's maybe just adjacent to his representation, and they were like, no, Sean Penn's not going to do this. And then like Tom Cruise, and like, but with all of these things, it takes time. Like that took a couple of weeks.
Right.
We wanted to get like a big recognizable movie star,
Right.
So, after that, I think the next person we may have went to, so for Tom Cruise, one of the execs at Gary Sanchez, this guy, Chris Henchy, is married to Brooke Shields, and like, they were, I think Tom Cruise was at their wedding or something, or they were at Tom Cruise's wedding. Like we had some really thin connection to Tom Cruise. So we're like, all right, let's try to go that route. And it's like, no, Tom Cruise is not going to do this. So then I want to say that like, I think the only other name I could remember is Edward Norton.
Okay. Yeah.
Who I think was like close to engaging, but he was like working on a documentary that he directed that he was like editing. So he was unavailable.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know that he would have done it either.
Right.
But anyway, we're trying to figure out who the right person is. Meanwhile, Al is about to go on tour. I believe this was the tour where like Al's Brain came out sometime during this tour, maybe that he debuted at the OC Fair. I think, or maybe that was the following year. Regardless, Al no, this must have been a different time. So Al was about to go out on tour, and Al's Brain was like a year later.
Al's Brain is 2009.
Yeah, 2009 was Al's Brain. Yeah.
Maybe that was before. Because I went and saw Al's Brain at the OC Fair, and my mom flew out, and my brother, and like we all went to the show and went backstage.
Oh, cool.
And, I can't remember the timeline of that exactly how it relates to the trailer. But regardless, Al was going on tour, and we were like, okay. Al wanted to play Tony Scotti, record executive from Scotti Brothers, in the trailer, and we were like, okay, let's just shoot your side of it now, and then when we cast the actor to play you, we'll just shoot the other side of the scene.
Okay.
So we cast Brian Husky as Ben Scotti, and we shot it in this little tiny office, like in our Funny or Die offices, which was like a house. It was just like a little bungalow.
Yeah.
We shot for no more than an hour. It was just a couple of lines of dialogue and Al listening to a boombox saying that kid's got the goods. We shot these little pieces, and then Al was like, all right, well, I leave for tour in a couple days, and hopefully we lock down an actor. I mean, months went by, and we didn't have anyone. And it's funny. I was digging through old emails this morning, and I found, like an email from, the head of Funny or Die that's like apologizing, like, I'm so sorry it's taken so long to get to get someone for this. Like, just want to let you know, Al, we're still really excited about this, and it's going to come together, I promise. And so anyway, one day at Funny or Die, actors would come in all the time. Usually like not huge celebrities, but people that were like on the rise or had something to promote would come into Funny or Die and hear pitches from us. Or just have like a general meeting with the writers. And Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul came in.
Oh man.
And
yeah,
this was season 2 of Breaking Bad, I think. Was on. So it was a critical darling, but the show definitely had not caught fire. I want to say that season 3 is where it really blew up when it went to Netflix.
Yeah, right before season 4.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I knew Aaron Paul from Big Love. I watched Big Love on HBO, and he played Amanda Seyfried's boyfriend on Big Love. And I was like, oh, I love that guy from Big Love. And I didn't really watch Malcolm in the Middle. I just knew Cranston was from Malcolm in the Middle. Like, I didn't really know him, his work outside of that either. And they came in, and we had a bunch of dumb sketch comedy video pitches for them, and then they were on their way. That was it. Bryan Cranston ended up doing a video where he was an Iraq war vet who couldn't smell farts. He lost his sense of smell. He had lost his sense of smell in the war, and everyone at this party, knowing that information, was just farting around him. and then at the end of the party, he has this big meltdown where he's like, I know you've all been farting by me. I can't smell them, but I can taste them. He goes on this big monologue about how he's tasted everyone's farts. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's really, really well done. It's really well done. It was done by these guys, Matt and Oz. Oz Rodriguez is directing. Matt, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but Oz has gone on to direct. They were at SNL for years, and he does a lot of really great stuff. But anyway, so Aaron Paul. So maybe it was like a week after that meeting. Mike Farah, who runs Funny or Die, came in and was like, "What do you think about Aaron Paul to play Al?" And I was like, "Well, I have never watched Breaking Bad. Like, I think he's great. He was great on Big Love. Like, right. I don't know, obviously we were going for Tom Cruise,
right?
Not that, like, Aaron Paul's incredible. He's a fantastic actor, and I had never seen an episode of Breaking Bad at the time. I didn't start watching it until I remember emailing Aaron Paul. Or I remember talking to Aaron Paul on set of the Weird trailer and saying, "Yeah, man, I hear everyone's telling me about how great Breaking Bad is. I really got to check it." It's just so funny having that. And then I watched it, and then I like binged 2 seasons in like 2 days. And I remember emailing him like, "I can't believe I hadn't watched it before we worked together. I'm an idiot. Oh my God, you're so incredible. Oh, Jesse Pinkman's the greatest character ever." I would have had I'm like, "You're lucky that I didn't, because I would have had a million questions."
Oh yeah,
right. Sure.
You're lucky you were just kind of like a guy that I just knew was a good actor. Anyway, so we're like, how about Aaron Paul? And I think Aaron was like nervous. Aaron didn't really. I think he was scared to do it at first, or like he didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, I'm not like a comedian, like I could do a video. Like, I don't know if he necessarily even really was that amped up on doing a Funny or Die video at all. And it was talking to him, and I was like, the whole concept of this trailer is like, we want this to feel like a real drama. It's not,
right.
You're not hitting a bunch of jokes. Like, you need to play these moments in the trailer, whether you're drunk, whether you're, happy or acting intimidating or crying. Like, you need to play these at like the top of your emotional intelligence. And you need to treat this performance like it is an Oscar nominated biopic. And he was like, all right, I trust you guys. And I think Al had watched Breaking Bad and was like excited about Aaron too.
Yeah.
And so then, he agreed to do it. We booked Aaron Paul. After we got Aaron, they say oftentimes you get once one piece falls into place, everything else very quickly happens. Once we got Aaron Paul, we cast this thing within days.
Wow.
The rest of it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Olivia Wilde was like a friend of Funny or Die. I think we had maybe produced a video for her. She was totally into it, excited to play Madonna. Mary Steenburgen, we had a relationship with because she was in Step Brothers, which was produced by our parent company.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So and she was the mom in Elf as well. Gary Cole was Ricky Bobby's dad in Talladega Nights. So like we had the connection with him as well. So like he came on board. And then Patton as Dr. Demento.
Right.
Which is perfect.
Yeah. Patton was like incredibly excited to play Dr. Demento in this trailer. And yeah, so then the whole thing was put together. So we started, building out the shoot schedule and the production side of it. We shot it in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
3 days, or maybe no, 2 or 3 days. Might have been 2 days. I don't know. We were at these really crummy stages in LA called Willow Studios. Apologies if anyone from Willow Studios. But they are like the first time that we shot Gobstopper there as well in the basement because it looks like a real torture dungeon. and while we were shooting the Gobstopper trailer with Christopher Lloyd downstairs, 2 floors up, they were shooting pornography.
Oh no.
So that tells you what kind of studio Willow is.
Oh geez.
Yeah. So anyway, we scheduled it out. We shot almost everything in that at Willow. The parents' house is in there. The concert scenes in that trailer are in like a living room.
Oh, really?
Space.
Oh, really? Wow.
They have like a 2-foot maybe elevated stage in this like sort of living room loft area on the 2nd floor of the building, and we just, with really creative lighting, and camera work, we managed to make it look like it's actually a concert. We had like maybe 40 background people, which are just like people that showed up because I sent out an email blast to like everyone at the UCB theater. And I'm like, if you're a Weird Al fan, come to set.
Wow.
Come to set
so
and you'll
cool.
get to meet Al because he'll be there and he's going to be just like hanging out on set and watching. Al just like hung out and basically kind of stayed out of the way and like was just filming behind the scenes stuff just for himself on like a little flip video camera.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because this is before cell phone video cameras were really good.
Right.
Right.
So we shot that there. We shot, we used like every corner of that building that we were in. There's the hallway that he's walking down as all the fans are grabbing at him. The Madonna stuff, however, was on a different day. The Madonna stuff was at a hotel. We just got like a hotel room. This little crappy motel room in Hollywood on Western and Hollywood Boulevard, I think. And yeah, we shot those. And I remember Aaron Paul was riding. He came to set on looked like a bat cycle. He was on like one of those.
Really? Wow.
He was on one of those motorcycles that has the two wheels in the front.
Oh,
you know,
weird.
like it's like a three-wheeler,
yeah.
like one of those like backwards three-wheelers.
Yeah, like a Can-Am, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's cool. This rules. I'm like, this is exactly the guy that should be playing this version of Weird Al
right
now. I can't imagine. Could you imagine Al like rolling up on a motorcycle? Although, I don't know. He did do that Circus of the Stars thing.
Yeah?
He does like live
yeah.
dangerously. Which I learned about, by the way, just to digress for a moment, I learned about that Circus of the Stars performance from listening to your podcast and like pulled it up on YouTube and just I could not believe that. What an insane.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It is.
It's hard to watch, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I brought it up to Al, and it's
Right.
like even he's even just like, I don't really like thinking about that. You know, it was pre-wife, pre-kids.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But anyway, yeah. So
Well, we need to stop the interview right there again. We will be back next episode for the exciting conclusion of our interview with Eric Appel, writer and director of the upcoming movie Weird the Al Yankovic Story, starring Daniel Radcliffe and available starting November 4th on the Roku Channel.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also time to celebrate!
This coming Saturday, August 13th, is the 31st annual Darwin Twine Ball celebration.
The excitement starts right at 7:30 a.m. Twine Ball time sharp with the traditional 3.3-mile Twine K race.
Other events include a craft fair,
Raffle,
sand volleyball,
kids pedal tractor pull,
beanbag tournament,
and a parade featuring local royalty including horses,
area floats,
antique cars,
tractors,
and much more.
Also be sure to check out the walking taco and snow cones, as well as the deep fried tweeters band.
Deep fried tweeters? I hope the DFTs are DTF, Darwin True Fanatics.
I'm pretty sure they are. Plus, you will not want to miss real live lions.
Dave, there will not be real live lions there.
Sure there will. It says here, the Lions Club will be serving 1919 root beer, hamburgers, brats, and beer.
You do know what a Lions Club is, right, Dave?
Yeah, it's when up to 3 male lions, 12 female lions, and their young congregate and live together in a group.
I'm pretty sure that's called a pride of lions.
I don't really think so. Otherwise, the group of civic-minded men and women who will be serving the 1919 root beer, hamburgers, brats, and beer would call themselves the Lions Pride. Sheesh!
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next expedition. Discover Darwin, more than just the Twine Ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
This is a special hamster alert to the Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system, sponsored by Jack Bateman.
Oh, hey! We just saw Jack Bateman last weekend.
Yeah, it was a wonderful surprise. He was at the Weird Al concerts in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, it was so awesome to get to see him again. Now, Dave, did he mention anything to you about hamsters?
He did not.
Oh, well then I guess we don't have any content for this episode's hamster alert?
That is correct.
That is all for this episode's very important special hamster alert via the Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system.
Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Discover Darwin, Jackson Scoggins, and Jack Bateman.
Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters. Allison, Blair, Matthew, Mike, Rim Gems, Jared and Rocky, Javier, Nancy, NES Josh 64, Gus and Alicia, Jake, UH Jeff, Kenneth, Scott, Zeb, Adriana, and also thanks to Trevor Son and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our freaking fantastic Ethan family friendly wonderful, wild, and wacky Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, and access to our secret episodes. And now would be a great time to join if you have not already, because you'll be the first to hear our unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour concert review bonus episodes.
And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. Make sure you get your orders in today for your official We Hate Intern Frank t-shirts. And I can't believe I even have to say this, but multiple sources have confirmed that a devilishly handsome Canadian hooligan has been selling bootleg We Love Intern Frank and Nous aimons la Intern Frank t-shirts. Always get your Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast merchandise directly from shop.2000inch.com.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community over at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rump the Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at weirdalpodcast.com or 2000inch.com.
And while you're there, click on ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or click on Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special bonus episode book series, where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his book page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thank you for subscribing and leaving reviews on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you are subscribed, because not only does it help the podcast, it also tastes exactly like Strawberry Quick. Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347 Spatula. Give it a call, and you might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to this episode's guest, Eric Appel. We also want to thank Chris Sear, the cartoon-loving geek from Canada, Joe Jaffa, Jackie Rossi, Alexis Adams, and Amy Carter. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you once again for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember, Red Rump a Goody. And chill.
Be sure to tune in to the next episode for part 3 of 3 of our interview with the amazing director and writer Eric Appel about his career and Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 167-inch.
Je déteste les Intern Frank. Ho 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 ho.
I know you've all been farting by me. I can't smell them, but I can taste them.